All right, so yeah, today we're going to be talking about muscle growth tips. So I've been training for quite a bit of a while, as you know, and there are certain things that do help you speed up the soreness, so you can keep training, day in and day out, or as much as you ideally would. This is like really a topic that gets attention, but not as much as it needs to, in my opinion, just because I think the active part of training has taken precedence over the recovery portion. So what I mean by that is when people are training, they're more focused on the training as opposed to recovery. Recovery is really only seen as a benefit when it's coming from a place of a need to retrain again. It's underplayed in my opinion, and overall it's better to ready to make sure, sorry, that you're training properly and recovering properly, so that you're seeing the overall benefit. So with that being said, I'll start with my personal opinion of the best way, which is essentially rest. Rest is needed in order for your body to recuperate, get better, and get healthy overall. So it's not to be overlegged, and a large part of that has to do with sleep. Sleep is essential. That's where your muscle fibers recuperate, and essentially get you to a point where you can re-engage with your previous activities. But skimping on it certainly will not help. I've had my fair share of overtraining where I'd go, 5, 6, even 7 days, and no break and limited rest, and overall it just leads to fatigue, and then inevitably something ends up tearing apart, or you just not functioning as normally as you can. I find that typically it depends on the exercise you're doing. So if you're someone who's doing a lot of rowing and chest movements, then it's going to happen typically in the shoulder area, or the rotator cuff, because that's really where the ball and socket joint is. So definitely take the sleep and the rest seriously, because it is the key. And also part of this whole equation, right, is that when you're in training, or working out, so to say, the training aspect is where you're actually tearing down the muscle. So the fibers are being depleted, your body's being depleted of its essential resources. It is a benefit, but once again, like these resources are being depleted, so to say. So I think that it's best to make sure that the body is being recuperated for that, because if you're taking out but you're not putting in adequately, then as the old saying goes, you are what you eat. So if the body's not being properly nutritioned and taken care of, then it certainly becomes a lot harder to make sure that it's going to get you the results in the long term. So sleep, definitely do it. It's recommended. Now, as for the amount, I typically like to go with a 7 to 8 hours, give or take. Um, at the least, for me personally, 6.5. Everybody differs. I've seen people who go 4, maybe even 3 hours a day. I'm not an advocate for it. Wouldn't recommend it at all. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people do 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Now that does come with a certain level of advantages. I mean, if you can do it, good. I mean, like guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger, they live and die by 6 hours. 6 hours a day, no matter what, because in his eyes, it gives him more flexibility to do the types of things he needs to do during the day. I mean, which is understandable. I can see the benefit towards that, based on his frequent schedule at the time when he was training for Mr. Olympia. But as for me, I can only speak for myself, and my goal source say it's been better for me to do 6 to 7 hours. Ideally, 7.5 is a sweet spot for me, but to each their own, really, when it comes to that. Now the next one is supplementation. Typically for me, I more just like stick towards the whey, just because it's a clean source, as long as it's grass fed, not grain fed, and there's really not none of those additives, because you really got to be careful about what you're getting these days. A lot of these products, so to say, that are like the big chains, that the ones that you see like frequently. You really got to read the details and the nutrition aspects, because a lot of what's in there is just it's not really good for you. Not only is it not good for you, it's not gonna help you with your end goals. A lot of additives. Sugar is just really being spiked. Caffeine, mainly with the pre-workout supplementation, as you already know, with these C4 products. It's not a natural product. It's a man-made product. And with that being said, there's a lot of engineering that goes into it to make sure that the dosage, and the potency is there, in order for people to feel the effects. I mean, rightly so. That's typically why people take things like creatine and glutamine. But overall, you really got to be careful in making sure you're cycling that, because that's really not the way your body is naturally supposed to intake things. It's a similar concept with multivitamins. They do have the area, because for you to eat that, or consume, I should say, that amount of regular servings is not really as natural, especially for somebody who's a light eater, who doesn't eat in bulk, so to say. But I think it certainly has its place, but once again, you have to be careful and listen to your body. The best advice is to probably see a practitioner, because then they'll be able to, give you a full assessment of exactly the consumption amounts, and what is adequate, and then what is, like, really just unnecessary, so to say. So yeah, definitely be careful the advice you take, because each person has their own personal opinion about what has worked for them, but that's not really going to be as healthy, or help you in the long run. It's similar to the to Arnold Schwarzenegger's plan, where he sleeps 4 to 5, at most 6 hours a day. That might work for him, but I don't really know if it's gonna work, for everybody else. So, not, I mean, not to downplay it. Like, it is a good thing, especially if you're crunched on time, so to say. But it's certainly not gonna be or work out for everybody. So the third one is stretching and roll out and equipment, I should say. So I typically like to use the medicine ball. I have it somewhere here. I wish I could show you guys, but it's really good. So it really helps you roll out the lower back, and it's good. I find typically for tight areas, because typically when your muscles get tight, they contract, and then when you contract, you're typically more likely to pull something. And stretching overall, I think, kind of just goes unnoticed. People don't really care for it as much. I don't know why, but if the range of motion is limited, then you're more likely to fall prey to injury, especially either the lower back, the legs, or the upper body region. I find that's typically where most people get injured the most, and it's something that really just could be avoided with proper training, and also proper stretching. And I think too is the fact that it's time consuming as well. That also plays into it, because if you're doing like 45-minute or even an hour and a half plan, with the cardio put in conjunction with the plan, and then on top of that you have stretching, it's really just kind of glossed over, or seen as something, just do it on my off time. But I think it should be part of the plan, at least 4 or 5 times a week, in my opinion, because without it, you're just opening yourself up to a lot of injuries. So I mean, with that being said, it's good to practice it, and definitely try different ones. So I would say, in the span of like a month, try and find at least two, three variations. Because as you keep, doing the same movements, your body's gonna get used to it. And not to say that the exercise isn't, or the stretching isn't good, but if your body's getting used to it a lot, then it's certainly gonna downplay on the effectiveness of it. So let me know which one works best for you, and hopefully you take this advice into consideration.